And joining us now from the White House is NBC's Peter Alexander, from Capitol Hill, Ali Vitale, and also with us is NBC's senior national politics reporter, Jonathan Allen. So, Peter, the White House, I'm sure, feels pretty good about the news conference last night. Did they feel good exactly 1 minute after it happened when Jim Himes came out and said that he could no longer support Joe Biden?
Well, I think broadly speaking, the White House and perhaps more importantly, the president's allies and campaign advisors do feel like they have sort of tied the tourniquet on one more time. They felt that way early in the week, and then in the middle of the week, it looked like the defection started to grow again. They think, in the words of one Biden aide, campaign aide that I spoke to a short time ago, that in effect this gave them another oxygen tank so they can spend the next several days beginning to fight back. Again, this has been a very challenging time. A separate aide saying to us as the performance last night, that news conference was winding down, that if this Joe Biden had showed up, despite that one gaffe that got a lot of attention, that he and the Democrats would not be in this mess right now. But similarly, I was speaking to a Democratic leadership aide shortly after the events of last night wrapped up, and I asked them if this changed anything, and they said to me, nope. They said in simple terms that they did not believe the president was able to do enough to sort of snuff out the rebellion, to stop those who were already leaning toward calling for him to get out of the race. The president said he recognizes his real challenge right now. The way to sort of convince those voters, those critics, is to get out on the road again to help allay their fears by getting the chance to see him. And that's what he is doing again today, going to a campaign event that'll take place in Detroit, in the key battleground state of Michigan. He heads to Texas in the next several days for the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Nevada as well. An exclusive interview with our colleague Lester Holt. So notably, Katie, one Biden advisor, or Biden aide, I should say, here at the White House said to me they didn't view last night as any singularly important night, but part of what has to be a consistent effort. I do think, though, in simplest of terms right now, that this president is, in effect, in a purgatory. He's in between there being enough calls for him to get out and the definitive performance that would say, hey, he is our guy again. So it really is a tough challenge for Democrats
Peter,
in this moment.
you've covered this White House for a long time. You've got deep relationships. Bring us behind the curtain. What are we learning about what the conversations are like internally? Who has the most influence with President Biden? And what about this news, and he was asked about it last night, that the campaign team is polling Kamala Harris?
Well, a couple questions in there. Pulling back the curtain a little bit, I think obviously you can see a little bit of the color has drained out of the faces of some of the president's closest advisors. I'll tell you that one moment where the president yesterday, and he has done this for years, I remember in 2008 when he referred to Barack Obama, introducing him in Iowa as Barack America. So he's prone to gaffes in the past, but last night, right out of the gates, when he mistakenly said Vice President Trump instead of Vice President Harris, I heard a deep sigh and saw one of the president's advisors in the front row just sort of bow his head and take a deep breath. They recognize that in this highly scrutinized moment that he really has so little room for error here. That's why they are pointing, I think, to the way he handled those questions on foreign policy and demonstrated the breadth of his knowledge, his detailed understanding about the complexities of foreign policy challenges. But, in many ways, as one Biden supporter said to me, he has demonstrated he has the ability to do the job, perhaps just not the ability to win the job again. And that really does, I think, prove to be one of the fundamental challenges they're facing right now. The question is, how much time do they have to play with? Perhaps just 5 to 7 more days, as Ali can attest, Jim Himes noted, before they have to come up with some sort of real conclusion to this and not live again in this extended state of purgatory.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.